Okay, screen is visible, right? PPT is visible. रोहित PPT दिसतंय का?
हाँ सर, हाँ दिसते.
Okay. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss the biochemistry practicals, right? So under these practicals, mostly we are focusing on the principles of the test. Okay, so we will be under the biochemistry practicals. We have estimation of the glucose. So we have two types of tests. One is a qualitative test. Qualitative test means yes no test, right? Means whether glucose is present or absent. That is a qualitative test. And other test we have is a quantitative test. Under the quantitative test, we can estimate actual quantity of the glucose present in the sample, right? So that is a estimated quantitative estimations. So under this one, we have to estimate the glucose. We can estimate the total protein. We can estimate the albumin. We can estimate the cholesterol, urea, creatinine. Estimation of the bilirubin is there. Estimation of chlorine is there. Estimation of sodium and potassium is there. So for sodium and potassium, we can use the flame photometry also. Then we are going to discuss the effect of pH on the enzyme activity. Next, effect of temperature on enzyme activity, and then estimation of the AST and oblique SGOT. Then estimation of ALT or SGPT. So this test we are going to discuss. So I will try to go slower, but overall this 13 tests we have, and in this lecture we are interested to explain you the principle of the test. Okay, rather than actual test, mostly we will be focusing on the principle. So what is the principle of each test that we are going to explain in this one, right? So we have colorful biochemistry here. So whenever we say colorful, so most of our biochemistry is based on estimations are based on the fundamentals like physics law principle, right? So what is the principle? Fundamental principle for this one. So we have light source here. So this one is a light source here. So this one is our bulb, right? So this is a light, white lights, for example. Then there is a collimator. So what collimator will do? This will combine all rays into this single point. It will try to focus it on one point, and then we would have the monochromator. This monochromator, this single white rays will be divided into its individual wavelength, right? So we say visible light. When we say visible light, for example, light we see sunlight. Usually we see a white light, right? So instead of this one, if you pass that light to the monochromator or the grating, prism grating, so what happens is that light split into the 7 colors. So these 7 colors we have to pass through this wavelength selector. Wavelength selector means we have to select the particular wavelength. For example, here the blue light is being selected here. Yellow light is being selected here. And this light we call as an incident light, I0 light, and that light has to pass through this cuvette. Okay, so this is the cuvette. So this one is the main interested part for us because this light is there. Till now we are talking about physics light principle. So light is passing. We have selected particular wavelength. Now this is a cuvette. Is presentation visible? Am I visible? आवाज येतोय का माझा? Is my sound coming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wait a minute. So basically, we are discussing the spectrophotometer equipment, right? So I will start again for this one. So PPT is visible, right? Okay. So we are discussing the spectrophotometry equipment. So we have some biochemistry ingredient, glucose, total protein, cholesterol, and all those things we have as a biomolecules in our blood, right? So in the serum, and now we are interested. We want to know the quantities, right? So we want to know how much money you have. So that is how much quantity of money we have, how much is the exact amount, right? So likewise, we are interested in for this biochemistry thing, how much is exactly glucose, right? Because there is a certain limit. After that limit, if glucose is more than that, we say that person may have diabetes mellitus, or it is less than that, then we say the person is hypoglycemic, he may suffer some coma and brain damage, right? So we want to differentiate that people, and that normal level we have to identify. So in order to identify the normal level in the serum, we have the equipment we call as a spectrophotometer, and name itself suggests spectro means it is related to light, and photometer means this light quantity it is being directly measured. Okay, so what we have is a light source here. It is passing through this collimator, and now we have this monochromator, and this monochromator is splitting light into the its individual. So we have VGR like violet, indigo, blue, red, green, orange. Like this color we have in our this one. Like rainbow color, 7 colors this white light can get split into. So we have wavelength selector. So on our equipment spectrophotometer, we have this wavelength selector. So we will rotate that one. Based on that, we can see the particular light. Now this one is a yellow light. If you are again rotating it, it will be the red light or it will be the orange light. Okay. So based on our test, we have to select only particular wavelength. Like for example, glucose. The wavelength needed for the glucose oxidase peroxidase test is a 505 nanometer. So we rotate that one, and particular wavelength only we select. And that particular wavelength we are selecting means that that color which is passing through that prism after this one from here, this color can be yellow or it can be red or orange. That is the means what we mean by wavelength selection, right? So that now comes the intensity part, right? So when light is passing through this equipment, we have I0 intensity, and when it is transmitting, we have I intensity. Why it is not same I0 and I? So because we have cuvette here and our sample is there, so this is the main portion. Sample we are keeping in this cuvette, and it will have some biomolecules, so glucose molecules here. So what these glucose molecules do? They will absorb some light, and after absorb the transmitted light can be measured in the detector or photocell, and that detector again with the mathematical calculation we can get absorption, how much light is absorbed. For example, here it is 0.45 is the optical density of the light. So that is we can get idea how much light has been absorbed. Basically, we are getting that calculation from the reading of the transmittance. So this transmittance reading we are putting in the mathematical formula, and then we are getting it. So that is the principle of the instrumentation, how a spectrophotometer work, right? So when we say here that we are selecting here the different light in the monochromator, we can split. So what does different light means? So we have violet light here. So violet light means it is 380 to 450 nanometer. So when we say light, what is light? Light is a electromagnetic spectrum, right? So electric and magnetic spectrum, they are perpendicular to each other, and that is what we call as an electromagnetic spectrum. And electromagnetic spectrum means we have wave like this, right? So crest, drop, like you are putting stone in the water, and then there are the waves on the water, right? Likewise, light can be regarded sometime as a wave function. So in that one, the consecutive crest or distance between consecutive crest or consecutive trough, it is called as a wavelength of that light. So if you are taking light, so this one is a crest, this one is a trough, crest, trough, likewise this. So uniform pattern actually. So distance between these two crests or distance between these two trough, we call it as a wavelength of the light. So if you measure this distance for violet light, this should be the 380 to 450. So it can be 380 nanometer. So if this distance is 380 nanometer, the light color will appear as a violet. If it is a 495 nanometer, the light will appear as a blue. if it is a 550, so this range, between this range 495 to 570, it will appear green. 570 to 590 nanometer, it will appear yellow. Then for orange, it will the wavelength range is 590 to 620 nanometer. For red light, it is 620 to 750 nanometer. Okay, so that is a wavelength of the light. So particularly, we are going back to the slide. So here we are selecting particular wavelength. So that is what we mean by particular wavelength. So for glucose, you are selecting, for example, 505. So which light you will select? So 505, it is falling in this range. Okay, so green. So whenever estimation glucose, we may select the green light. And for green light, for the example, this is a filter. First filter, second filter, third filter, fourth filter, five filter, and six filter. So we have to select this third 3-number filter. Okay, so this 3-number filter we have to select because its range is of 495 to 590, which and our intended is a 505, for example. So we have to select filter number 3. So that is why we select a particular filter when we are measuring the spectrophotometer reading, right? So that we can pass the particular light. For example, here yellow light, or if you are selecting 3rd-number filter, so this green light will come and we have to pass it through our sample and measure the optical density. Okay, so that is there. Then we were talking about some mathematical things for Lambert-Beer law. So what is that Lambert-Beer law? So the Lambert-Beer law is that this August Beer added the absorption coefficient and related concentration. So basically, it is like this. This absorption is directly proportional to the concentration and path length. So if you measure the distance between this, so this is our cuvette. If you measuring this distance, so this is a path length. So how much light passing through, actually passing through our cuvette, that is a path length. So this is I0 incident light, I1 transmitted light, and this is I, how much L lambda, how much is the path length. Okay, so usually what we do, we keep cuvette constant. So at every sample, we don't change diameter of the cuvette. Similar cuvette we use. So that is why absorption becomes directly proportional to the concentration. So A is directly proportional to C lambda, but because we are keeping lambda path length also constant, that is why absorption can be regarded as a directly proportional to concentration. Okay, so how we get that absorption reading? Previous slide, here we are showing here absorption reading. So how to get that reading? So we have calculation like this. A is equal to minus log I1 divided by I0. So this is a transmitted light divided by emitted light. So minus logarithm of transmitted light divided by emitted light can give you the actual absorption reading, right? So that is how we can get it. And this epsilon is the extinction coefficient, C is the concentration of our sample, and lambda is a path length. Okay, so that is a Lambert-Beer law. Based on Lambert-Beer law, we are getting optical density. So whenever we are estimating glucose, protein, cholesterol, so most of things we are interested whenever we are mixing something with our serum. We are mixing our serum with something. We expect in that test to particular color to develop. Okay, so that particular color should develop. And now once color has developed, or after 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever incubation is there, we are taking that that reaction and we are putting it inside the cuvette. So in this cuvette we are putting, and then after putting here, we are interested to measure its reading, right? Optical density reading. So that is how we measure its optical density. So next, some slide, maybe some optical density reading is there. So you will know from that calculation why it is important, right? So this one is a spectrophotometer equipment we should have in our lab. We have colorimetry equipment, spectrophotometer equipment also we have in our lab. So this is a cuvette. So here this cuvette we are talking about, light passes through that cuvette. So this one is a cuvette here. So we have to open this lid. So black lid we have to open. We have to put our cuvette inside that cuvette holder, and then we have to close the lid. The closing lid is important because other light which is coming from environmental source should not interfere with its reading, right? It should not affect the optical density reading. So that is why. So here we were talking about this cuvette, right? So this one is our cuvette. This one cuvette. So this cuvette we have to keep here. So this is our cuvette. And now we were talking about some incident light. So this is a machine. You won't see incident light, but inside the light, basically this light is passing through this one, I0, and it is passing through our cuvette, and then it is coming outside. So we can measure the intensity of I0, intensity of transmitted light. So based on that calculation on the screen, here we expect that you get the optical density reading. So 550 nanometer is the wavelength, and now here 0.001 absorption, for example, right? And these are the settings to this. For example, this one is to set optical density wavelength, and this one to set 0 or blank and all those things. So whenever we will see actual equipments, you will know the what is their function. But basically, the basic things you should remember is that you have to set the optical wavelength of that particular sample, right? If you are estimating the glucose, we have to select the wavelength at the 505 nanometer, for example, so that the specific reaction have a specific wavelength, and then it will have the particular reading. Instead of 505, if you are selecting 650 nanometer, it won't give accurate reading, right? So based on the test, particular test sample has a particular extinction coefficient for particular light. So based on that, that is wavelength is determined, right? This one is a spectrophotometer equipment. Then comes the serum part. So serum part, how we get serum? We go to animal and then we collect intravenous blood, and now blood is collected. As we all know that blood contains the clotting factor. So this clotting factor are the factors which cause blood to clot. So what happens once blood is clotted? So this is a clotted blood, and then serum can ooze out from it. So this is a serum sample. So next comes the estimation of a whole blood glucose by Poulin-U method. So the Poulin-U method is a method for the blood glucose estimation. So we will see what is principle. So proteins, so we are estimating the glucose, right? So in this method, so we don't want proteins. So first we are precipitating the protein with the tungstic acid. So now protein we have precipitated. Then protein prefiltrate. So one paper we will take like this, and we will filter it through this paper. So the protein it will remain here, and this protein prefiltrate we have to treat with the alkaline copper tartrate solution. Okay, so alkaline tartrate solution we prepare. Then cupric ions are reduced to cuprous ion. Okay, so cupric ions are reduced to cuprous ion, which in turn reduce the phosphomolybdic acid to phosphomolybdous acid, and then intensity of blue color phosphomolybdous acid is a measure. So basically, if you are measuring the blood glucose by Poulin-U method, the first thing you are doing is that you don't want this protein to be present in that sample. So you treat it with tungstic acid. Now it's okay, it's treated with tungstic acid. So protein filtrate is there. Okay, you filter it, you treat with alkaline copper tartrate solution. So when we say alkaline copper, there is a copper. So something is happening with that copper. So what is happening? The cupric ion has reduced to the cuprous ion. Okay, and then this cuprous ion is reducing phosphomolybdic acid. So in this reaction, we are using phosphomolybdic acid as one of the reagent. So it is getting converted into the phosphomolybdous acid, and then intensity, the blue color of this phosphomolybdous acid is measured. Okay, so after phosphomolybdous acid has a blue color. So basically, all boils down to this blue color. Okay, so this blue color intensity we have to measure. Okay, blue color of phosphomolybdic acid. So what it will be depend on? Phosphomolybdous acid blue color, it will be depend on amount of the glucose. So if you have more glucose, you have more intense blue color. So if intense blue color means you will have more absorption or this readings based on this reading, you can have the more glucose. So it is directly proportional. We say that A is directly proportional to the concentration. It means that intensity blue color increases, so concentration increases. So A is directly proportional to the C. That is what it means, right? So this is a simple principle, Polynucleotide method. So just for practical class, you should know some what is glucose when we are talking about. So this one is a glucose structure, right? Aldehyde group is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 carbon are there. First OH is on the right side, second OH on the left side, third, fourth is on the right side. Again, there is OH. So a lot of hydroxyl group is there and one aldehyde group is there. So that is the structure of the glucose. So just for imagining purpose, we have kept it. So glucose means you should know that you are measuring some chemical entity. So the glucose, and whenever we do glucose test, why we do it may be done for the diabetes mellitus. So you should remember this disease. If you are doing the glucose test and glucose is very high, then there that can be diabetic mellitus. Okay. So insulin deficiency that can be there, hyperglycemia can be there, in type 1 diabetes mellitus, childhood or adolescence onset can be there. If it is a type 2 diabetes mellitus, it means that insulin resistance can be there, hyperglycemia can be there, or adult onset can be there, type 2 diabetes. So type 1 and type 2 diabetes, actually you have one separate theory lecture for this type 1 and type 2 diabetes, right? So again, we will be discussing, but you should correlate your theory with the practical aspect. So that is why we are mentioning this one. So next thing we have is the satellite cell muscle fiber, myofibers is there. Diabetes progression is happening, for example, and then what happened? Diabetic muscle. What is happening? Metabolic capacity is decreasing of this muscle. Atrophy, muscle is getting atrophy. It is switching to glycolytic pathway, glycolytic fiber type. Decreased capillarization, blood vessel also decreasing. So this one was a healthy muscle. So you're quite pinkish color. Now it is a faint pinkish color. Now everything has decreased. So your muscle is atrophying, it is dying. So what happens in diabetes mellitus is that you can have the lowered blood supply because of decreased capillarization. You can have the switch your pathway to glycolytic pathway. Usually there is oxidative pathway, but glycolytic pathway suffers, then decreased capillarization, atrophy, and decreased metabolic capacity. That's why sometimes the people with the diabetes mellitus, they will feel fatigue quite often, right? They will feel, okay, I'm not well, I'm not feeling that much enthusiastic or that much energetic. So that is the side effect that, okay, you have diabetes and now these things are happening in the background. So that is why you are feeling that one, right? So these are the diabetic mellitus. So for correlating one, this one. So type 2 diabetes mellitus can have the epigenetic changes, quiescent satellite cell. So these cells can be quiescent. So the activation of type M clip, oxidative stress can be there. So these are the things, oxidative stress on all those things, they can cause the diabetes mellitus sometime. Extracellular membrane impairment can also be there. So the main thing is that we are estimating some test, the glucose test we are doing in the practical, and the motto of that test is that you should correlate with the disease, right? Otherwise, there is no meaning that we are just done the test and know the value. So you should know what the value is that, and if it is higher, what disease can be there. If it is normal, it's okay, it is normal. Then if it is low, what is its interpretation? So whenever you are doing the practical test or glucose estimation or any analyte, you should able to correlate with the disease status. What can be the prognosis? What can be the possible diseases? So that test was there. So next is a estimation of the serum protein by the biurate method. So next one is a biurate method. So total protein is there, albumin is there, globulin is there, and we have to measure the total protein, for example. So protein and peptide bond react with alkaline copper sulfate biurate reagent to give the violet color complex. So again, whenever we are doing the protein test, we are interested in the color, and we are interested in the color which is forming because of the protein reaction with something. So we have this protein, we have this alkaline copper sulfate, we call it as a biurate reagent, and it is reacting, the peptide bond is reacting with this copper sulfate, and now it is giving the violet color complex. So that means that this is the intended color. It is happened because particular protein. Okay, this color won't develop because of the glucose or fatty acid. It will only develop when it is a protein is there in presence of this alkaline copper sulfate. So that is the principle of that test. So whenever we are saying write the principle of the test in the test, it means that we have to explain that particular color is forming, why it is forming, and with whom it is forming, and what is the mechanism underlying it. So that is its meaning. The color intensity is directly proportional to the quantity of the protein present. Okay, so more the protein, more the color intensity. The globulin in the biological fluid is precipitated by the addition of sodium sulfate and filter off. So if you want to filter off the globulin, then we have to treat it with the sodium sulfate. The filtrate contain only albumin. So it will contain albumin, and we have to hence the estimation of globulin can be done by subtracting the total value of albumin from the total serum protein. So when we say total protein, so we take it as roughly as a albumin A plus B, albumin, A plus G, globulin. Okay, so at the start of the reaction, we are precipitating the globulin, we are getting rid of it. Now we have albumin. Now measure the albumin. Next thing, you want to measure the globulin, measure the total protein. You have measured albumin, you have measured total protein. Simple mathematical formula, you have addition. Total protein minus albumin, it will be globulin content for that one. So this one is a peptide one. So whenever you remember protein, we are estimating protein. You should remember that this one is a one amino acid, carboxyl group. Other amino acid, this is the amino group. This is a carboxyl group. It is reacting and it is forming peptide bond. And that this peptide bond reaction with this alkaline copper sulfate is responsible for the development of that violet color. So this test was there. And when we say violet color, so this one is our violet color. And copper sulfate, it has a bluish tinge color. So this one is a copper sulfate, and now it is becoming violet. So you can see here, 0 protein, 0 milligram, 0.1 milligram, it is changing color. Again, concentration is more, 0.4 milligram per ml, 2 milligram. So again, it is becoming intense, 10 milligram per ml. So that is what we mean when we explain the concentration phenomena, Lambert-Beer law. Absorption is directly proportional to the concentration. And this is a simple phenomena we exploit for the measuring the concentration of the analyte. So here is a very dark color. It means that this is this contains the higher concentration, and you can see from the value that 10 is higher than 0.1. So this is a intense purple than this purple, right? So that is a principle of Biuret test. So hemoglobin protein. So when we say protein, so you should remember that there is a simple one-dimensional structure that is of amino acid simple joining, and we can have the protein like this. This is the 3D structure or quaternary structure. So this is the three-dimensional structure of the protein. Okay, so that was about glucose and the this one protein. Next thing we have is the estimation of the serum chloride. So serum chloride we have to estimate now. Now how do we do it? So we have principle. Chloride is present in the biological sample combined with the mercury of dissociated mercuric nitrate, and no mercuric nitrate available in the preform. So if we have to measure the chloride concentration, we have to take our biological fluid where chloride we suspect is present, then treat it with the mercuric nitrate. After treating it, what happens is that this mercuric portion, it gets dissociated. So this mercuric, and it will combine with this chloride. Okay, these two are combining. This mercury and chloride is combining, and based on that principle, we can detect it. So when the chloride content of biological fluid is over, then only mercuric nitrate will combine with the indicator. So it will combine with the indicator, and then it will give the violet color. So basically, it is a titration test. So in the 12th class, you may have seen the titration test. So this is a titration test. This is the end point of the titration. The quantity of chloride in sample is calculated from the quantity of mercuric nitrate required to titrate the sample. So this is a simple test. So we have mercuric nitrate in this burette. For example, this burette is there. We are taking mercuric nitrate here in this burette here. Now this burette, it can get dissociated into the mercuric and nitrate portion. Then we are taking one flask here. where we add our sample with the chlorine here. So this dissociated mercury, it will combine, this mercury will combine in this Erlenmeyer fast into this chloride, and we have mercury chloride. So this thing we are forming here. Okay. So whenever mercury chloride is there in this flask, for example, we have added I indicator. Okay. So indicator we have added when mercury chloride is forming, no color is there. When color will be there only when mercuric nitrate combines with this indicator, then only color. But what is happening? We are putting mercuric nitrate from here, drop by drop, but it is combining with the chlorine, and this mercury is combining with the chlorine, and instead of mercuric nitrate in the flask, we are getting mercuric chloride, and then after some time the chlorine is over. Okay, no chlorine is there. So this mercuric nitrate, it will come directly into this flask, and we have the mercuric nitrate present. Now this mercuric nitrate can combine with this indicator, and now we can have the violet color complex. So this color intensity we can measure, and for this measure thing we have to measure how much mercuric nitrate we have used. So in comparison to reference. So any test we do, there is a standard and there is a sample. Standard means fixed concentration. For example, NaCl, sodium chloride we are taking. We know the concentration of the chlorine, and we are comparing that with the how much the sample required. Based on that, the titration assay we can do it. So that is our simple titration assay. This one. So burette is there. We are taking mercuric nitrate here. This is a sample to be titrated. For example, serum you are taking in here. We are adding some indicator in also. I also we are adding indicator, and now we are treating this mercuric nitrate with the this serum sample in which we suspect chlorine is there, and the color won't develop till chlorine in the sample is over. If this many chlorine is there, now it is over. Now mercuric nitrate can combine with the indicator, and it can give the violet color. That is a titration test. So chloride is important in our body. So in the physiology, you must have seen the reverse chloride shift is there. So the hemoglobin is there. It is combined. Hemoglobin is there. Carbon dioxide is there. This lung alveoli is there. CO2 has to dissolve from plasma. So RBC will give CO2 here. CO2 will combine combine CO2 and H2O, and basically we have pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, red blood vessel, carbon hemoglobin. So this bicarbonate portion, it can combine with EH plus. Bicarbonate it can give again in RBC, it will dissociate into carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide can go into here. So here is role of carbon chlorine. So here is a role of chlorine. So this is a chloride shift. So during this exchange, this chlorine has to come out. So if you have to take our carbon dioxide out, so CO2 is not, we don't want CO2 in our body, we want only oxygen. So, but CO2 has to get rid of during this process. This chloride is important. So that is a chloride shift is present in the lung. So that is why we have to measure the chloride concentration as a normal physiologic parameter. If chloride is a higher or lower, then this process gets disrupted, right? So that is there. Next thing is a estimation of creatinine. Creatinine is a non-proteinous substance present in a muscle in form of the creatinine phosphate. The creatinine. Okay, are you following presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think it is too many tests, so we will take some break here, right? Some 10 minutes break we will take. Okay, so 10 minutes break we will take, and then we will gather again for next test. Okay, same link you join after 10 minutes, right?